Welcome back to Empower Yourself. Today we'll learn about equipment qualification. Equipment qualification. This is the process of demonstrating that an instrument or piece of equipment consistently performs according to a specification. So, equipment qualification says that each and every part of the equipment or the instrument or piece of the equipment will produce results according to the specification limits that have been established as well as within the acceptance criteria. Equipment qualification is critical in the pharmaceutical industry. It is a series of inspection, tests, and assessments to ensure that a given piece of equipment is compliant and ensure reliable performance. So, equipment qualification is one of the major part in the pharmaceutical industry. As the equipment is involved in manufacturing of the product, equipment qualification is being considered as the critical part. And during the equipment qualification, it includes series of inspection. It undergoes different kinds of tests and an assessment will be done that all the results are in the compliance and are producing the reliable results and it is in a reliable performance. Equipment qualification as a part of validation is a task performed to identify or check that utilities, equipment, and ancillary systems are capable of operating within limits for their intended use. As we see earlier, that equipment qualification is one of the critical part and it is a part of the validation. So during the validation, we'll check that qualification is performed to check that all the utilities, all the equipment, all the ancillary items that are being used in the manufacturing of the product are within the limits and those results are within the intended purpose and within the acceptance criteria. So based on those acceptance criteria limits, the equipments are being used in the manufacturing of the product. So based upon the qualification and all the results, the qualified equipments are used in the validation of the product. As the equipment will have the impact upon the quality of the product as well as the yield of the product. So that is the reason why equipment qualification plays a major role in the part of the validation. Equipment qualification steps. Here are the procedures and the ways that the equipment qualification is being performed. The first comes the user requirement specification that we call it to be the URS. DQ, design qualification, FAT, factory acceptance test, SAT, site acceptance test, IQ, installation qualification, OQ, operational qualification, PQ, performance qualification. So these are the steps that are used and that are being followed during the qualification of the equipment. Let us see them all in detail. URS. The word itself says that user requirement specification. So the URS is being prepared by the user. The user whom the equipment or the instrument is being used and those user requirements are given in the user requirement specification. So the user will take the user requirement specification in a format and along with that they would get the change control system. So change control system is followed during the equipment qualification. So whenever the user requirement specification is brought and is come into force, so the change control system will also come into the force parallelly. So all the requirements that are being required by the user will be included in the change control, and those things will be forwarded to the cross-functional teams and as well as being approved by the quality assurance team. So based on the user requirement, the next procedures are being followed. The DQ, design specification. So the user will specify the design. So what are the requirement, what are the types of the design that is required to get the particular product or to analyze the product. So during this stage, the design, the MOC, material of construction, and each and every specification will be identified and will be checked that the particular instrument or the equipment that is being uh, identified or that is being required is meeting the requirements or not. So after DQ, it will go with the FAT, that is factory acceptance test. Whatever the requirements that are being intended by the user along with the design specification, so the performance or the activity of the equipment will be checked in the factory where the equipment is being fabricated. So here during the factory acceptance test, we would check it will be performed at the factory, that means at the manufacturing site of the equipment, as well as we would see the design and the user requirement that has been given by the user are meeting or not, and all those will be evaluated initially at the factory. SAT, site acceptance test. So this is the case where we check that the equipment or the instrument that is being designed or required by the user is able to fit in the site. That means in the industry or in the place where the product is being manufactured. So this is performed at the site where the equipment has to be placed. So this is, they will check whether the capacity, whether the area for the equipment, for the instrument is available or not. Next is installation qualification, so IQ. So during the installation qualification, we go with the types of the risk assessment, components evaluation. So here during the installation, whether the equipment is being installed properly, what are the types of the risks that have been occurred during the installation, and all the components that have been associated with the equipment will be evaluated. All the spares, all those things will have to be checked during the installation qualification. All the parts, all the requirements to run the equipment or the instrument, all this will be checked during the installation qualification. Operational qualification, that is OQ. So during this operational qualification, if it is the first time that we are installing a particular designed equipment or a particular designed instrument, then we need to go with the preparation of the SOP, that is standard operating procedure, how we have to operate the equipment and what are the challenges, what are the alarming challenges as per 21 CFR should be evaluated. So if it is a software that is being installed in the instrument, then we need to check all the challenges that we will face during the operation of that. Otherwise it could be the instrument or it could be the equipment. So we need to check what are the challenges that we are facing and how it has to be operated and how it has to be performed. Next is performance qualification. So this is the case where the validation of the product will be started and where it will be initiated. So during the performance qualification, we go with the validation, that is validating 3 consecutive batches. Either it could be trial batch or it could be a direct validation. It could be a direct validation when we have the same design of the equipment, where it is like to like, and where it doesn't show any major changes with the existing equipments or so. So, and types of sampling procedures, all these things will be including the performance qualification. So after completion of the performance qualification, after all the results that are being compiled, that are the output of the batches, after seeing all those things, the equipment can be handed over to the commercial production. So if the equipment is meeting all the requirements, even the quality of the product as well as the yield of the product, then we can make sure that all the things are within the limits. As well as during this stage, we can go with the schedules, that is the preventive maintenance schedule and the calibration schedule, when the calibration has to be performed, when the preventive maintenance has to be performed. So all this will be included during the equipment qualification, and those will be laid out, and those things will have to be followed. So all these things have to be performed with a validation protocol or the qualification protocol, as well as after the qualification it has to be reported. That could be the qualification report. So everything has to be documented and everything has to be recorded in the particular formats. So either it could be the validation or it could be the qualification. It has to be in a validated form, that is, it has to be included in the VMP, that is validation master plan, and all those things to be summarized in the VMP, so that the project that we are doing can be monitored easily, and it can be summarized and it can be tracked in a form, so that it will be helpful to everyone who are involved in the validation or the qualification activity. I hope this has been helpful to you and it has given you some knowledge, and give your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Thanks for watching and learning.